For this episode of Making It Happen, we are heading over to Belgium to meet up with Fox consultant Chris de Klerk, where I can hopefully, with his guidance, try and catch my very first canal carp. I'm pretty much like a fish out of water, if I'm not even afraid to admit it. Got cyclists going past now, rowers in the background, a world away from the places where I'm used to fishing. There's no rules, you just do what you want. I love it.
Oh, nice one.
Oh, wow.
Homie boy.
Honestly, I just don't know what to say. Like, this is, for me, is a major buzz, this type of fishing. And I don't know what to say even at the start. If what I'd caught wasn't enough, this fish, let me tell you, is a dream come true. Could not have asked for a better trip. Oh, wow. Get in. Wow. Get in.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yes.
So as I said, we are heading off down to the Euro Tunnel, and that is because for this episode of Making It Happen, we are heading over to Belgium to meet up with Fox consultant Chris de Klerk, where I can hopefully, with his guidance, try and catch my very first canal carp. So we've got about 45 minutes left this side, jump on the tunnel, and it's a short drive the other side where we're going to meet up with Chris, have a little walk along a few stretches of canal that he knows really well. Like I say, fingers crossed, I can catch myself a canal carp.
Yes, mate.
All right, Chris, we've just turned up at that address.
Yeah?
We're near somewhere, a shop called Lauren's.
Oh, yeah. So you're next to the church?
Yes, yeah, the church is right behind me.
Well, you're in the right street.
Oh, that's a good start. We're here. Shall I pull into your drive?
Yeah, just pull up into the drive. It's a bit narrow, but should be alright.
That's fine, I'll reverse in, yeah? The hell, Chris, you could have got a wider drive. Fucking close it is. How close it is.
To the tour.
Oh, you've got a circle drive?
Yeah.
Oh, we don't have that in England. I'll go this way round.
Yeah.
After a short journey from Calais, we arrived at Chris's house where we were greeted with a fresh coffee. We had a quick chat with Chris about the canals we would be visiting before heading off to the local butchers en route to the canal to grab some food for a barbecue and a social the first evening. Although the locals all spoke perfect English, we left it to Chris to order the meat as we didn't quite understand what was what. It didn't take long to reach the first stretch, and upon arriving it was clear why canal fishing is so popular in Belgium. They're big mullet, yeah?
Yeah, you'll have them all of the time.
So prior to our arrival, Chris is obviously trying to help us as much as possible. Now he has walked along this stretch, he's put some bait in, and the good news is where the bait's been put in, it's gone. Now there's not a lot of bird life present. We've seen a few mullet swim through, which he informs me don't eat the bait. So the only thing that could have potentially eaten the bait is carp, which is a good sign. But I'm pretty much like a fish out of water, if I'm not even afraid to admit it. If I was to turn up here sort of unaided by Chris, I wouldn't even know where to start. I suppose the butchers would be a good place to start, but it's hard to imagine fishing places that I normally fish where obviously the fish can't go anywhere you're never that far away from a carp, but coming somewhere like here, you could spend days and days and days and you probably wouldn't ever even see one. But we're on the front foot, we've got Chris helping out, I'm confident. So the mirrors are stocked, the commons are wild.
Yes, that's the thing on most of the canals in this region, wild commons that most of the time don't grow very big. So I think 2009 we did the first stocking of mirrors, and then every year we put some more. They get photographed on both sides, they all get a number, and when you catch one you can actually send them to one who monitors them, and then you'll have the catch history and the growing history of the fish. So that's really interesting. It's
and how many have they put in? A lot?
I don't know the real number, but I think it's like 300, 400, maybe 500, but 70 kilometers in length, that's nothing really. So
well, it's not what I'm used to. I'm used to 300-400 per peg. Before leaving the first stretch, Chris put a small amount of bait on some spots that he'd seen a few fish on over the weekend prior to our arrival. The bait was a simple mix of maize and boilie and was enough to attract carp without overfeeding them. Due to the stretches of canal looking very similar, Chris made a note of the spots he had baited by leaving a small trail of stones as a marker for us to return to. The next stretch was only a 10-minute journey away, and this was a well-known spot from the locals due to the stock that it contained.
yeah, this is a tiny stretch, but really well known by the local anglers because it has a 40-pounder in it. And so because of you guys coming, I just had a check on how the fishing went last week, and I just walked along the bank, saw nothing, came back, saw a mid-20 common, saw a big mirror, ran to the car, get my rods. We're just planning a video chat about this trip, so I say, hold on, I'm gonna put in my rods, then we'll have the video chat. Put in the rod, walk back towards my first rod, and it ripped off, and lucky me, it was the biggest mirror in this stretch. 43 pound it went. Sometimes you just get really lucky.
Right, so I'm just preparing some bait to chuck in on the stretch where Chris caught the big one. I'm going to keep it very simple. 12mm krill active, mixed in with tiger nuts. Not loads. Chris sort of says don't put loads of bait out. The water is just warming up out here. The fish aren't exactly looking for big beds of bait, just enough to sort of entice them into an area. So I'm just going to do a couple of handfuls of boilies, a couple of handfuls of tiger nuts, pour in a little bit of liquid, head on over the barrier, put a bit of bait in, and then head on over to the first stretch that we looked at to get the rods out for the night. After arriving back at the first stretch, Chris checked the spots, and on one spot noticed a bit of bait had disappeared, a sure sign fish were in the area, and he wasted no time in getting 2 rods positioned for the evening. Due to the canal being uneven and rocky in places, simple hinge rigs with soft booms were the chosen method. With Chris's guidance, my rods soon followed, although I still couldn't quite get my head around just how close I was fishing to the bank. In stark contrast to my usual setup, everything had to be completely slack not to spook the carp. With 2 rods lowered no more than a few foot from the bank, it was time to sit back and enjoy the first evening, hopeful that we'd be lucky enough to trip up our first Belgian carp. Chris couldn't fish the first night with us and was due to leave soon after the barbecue, not that he needed any more time.
Just minutes before I was thinking of reeling in, the right hand rod just went into meltdown, Tom. But just unreal. But
Not sure what it is.
yeah,
I think
really not sure because it's really shaky. But it doesn't feel like a carp. Or maybe it's a small common. It's strong though. It's really.
That can't
It
be
really
a
is.
buck.
It really is strong.
Oh, we got a carp.
Yeah. And it is a mirror as well.
Yeah.
Nice. Stocky.
This would be, I was going to say this would be a stockfish. Stockies don't count, they say. Everything counts here. I can't believe we've got a carp this early on.
Fish.
Yes!
Boom!
Mega, what a... That's unreal. That's probably the closest in I've ever seen a carp caught from.
Boom. Yeah. It's a little half linear.
Yeah, nice.
All right, so here it is, our first carp of the session. It's been a bit of a relief because today we had a look around. Conditions didn't look really good. We couldn't spot any fish, but then again, we were confident that eventually something must showed up, and this is the first one. The good thing is we still have 2 or 3 nights left, so Tom, what do you reckon?
Unreal. Like I say, it's totally...
First Belgian carp you see live, or...?
It just amazes me. We've literally been sat on the side of this path. There's cars going down, motorbikes going down, and we are literally fishing about 6 foot behind where Brad's filming us from. Unreal, and it just rips off. Totally different to anything that I've ever done before. And to see one actually come out, like, I didn't disbelieve Chris, obviously. I didn't disbelieve him at all. But to actually see one come out,
that gives some confidence.
Unreal.
Yeah.
And like you say, a couple more nights left. I can't see this being the only one.
All right.
Unreal.
Wanna put this one back?
Yep.
All right.
Mega.
Nice one.
Oh. Woohoo! You got it? All right. Whew. You got to jump in with Matt now, Chris, and you've got to swim at 100 metres in it.
You see?
You got to sit in the mat now and do 100 metres down the canal.
Whew.
You've heard of free on a spot. This is free on a rock. Not even joking. Just because I don't see it that often in Belgium, don't mean you can't bring a bit of Oxfordshire to Belgium. Free on a rock coming right up. You heard it here first. Right, I'm into a fish. This is unreal. It's so hard to explain. We've had the pair of us, I can probably vouch for both me and Brad. We are fishing on like a towpath, and back in England, I don't even think you would use it as a, well, it'd be used as a cycle lane, and cars have been going down it. So the sleep's been pretty broken. We was up like for 20 hours yesterday, and yeah, sleep's been pretty broken, and literally, it's just first like classic bite time, and it's ripped off and I've got a fish on. It's definitely a carp, and I'm going to focus on getting it in. There's loads of people going to work now up and down the towpath on the bikes, and I can't believe I'm into a fish, so I'm going to try and get it in. Unreal. Bite like I've never heard before, braid as well. Got down here and the rod is just bouncing on the buzzer, and I've got a fish on, but I've got to be a bit careful here because where it slopes away there's like a lot of rocks and a lot of stones, so I've got to keep the rod up. Normally if I was on the lake it'd be rod low, but I'm not trying to be a hero here and do any of that. I'm keeping the rod up like Chris has told me to do, and fingers crossed I can get one in, but it's not very far out. I've just navigated this embankment and managed to stay alive. There he is. It's a common. Come on. Let's get this. Let's make this the result. Here we go. Come on. Is that a Belgian canal carp? Yes! Yes! Unreal. My very first canal carp on what is effectively the first morning. totally different fishing. Not just actually putting a rig in the water, just what you've got to endure. Unreal. I've never ever been so happy to catch a carp in all my life. That has just made the trip so worthwhile. I can't even explain it. Unreal. Yes! Got one.
With the fish in the retainer, we waited for a bit more light before getting the fish out. The commuters had already started and the paths were becoming busier with traffic. A strong coffee was needed after not much sleep through the night, and I wasted no time in getting the rod back out in hope of another carp.
Right, so I'm back in position. Now, obviously I was always going to learn a lot from Chris by fishing on here, but there's a couple of things that I did wrong last night that I thought I did alright, but I didn't. It obviously slopes off very, very quick. Now the middle of the canal is about 20 foot deep, and to get from here to there, 20 foot, there's obviously quite a slope, but apparently, well, there is, as the bank starts to drop off where the concrete was formed, there's a slight flat area of probably about 1.5 foot, 2 foot, and that's where Chris says you want to lower your rig. Now last night I was swinging it back in to try and get it onto that little flat area, and I weren't able to do it properly until he showed me what to do. So yeah, we want to be fishing in 6 foot of water, so I'll put the lead at the spigot so I know it's 6 foot, and I'm literally just going to have a little donk around before I drop the rig in, and as soon as I found the flat area, I'm going to leave it, put my bait over it, and we're fishing. Obviously lifting it up before I eventually drop it. There it is. Memorising where it is. Swing it out slightly so the rig don't tangle. Bang on, that's the one. And as well, I chucked a few hole baits in, and he said to me, why are you putting hole baits in? They're just going to roll to the bottom of the canal, which again is very true. So I'm going to hold that rod like that. I'm just going to crumb up a few of these active, not many, 15, 20 baits. Not chuck them tight around where I'm fishing, going to chuck them in sort of a bit of a line. And I should imagine as the fish are travelling up and down, that bright orange pop-up's going to be right in their face, and the scent coming off of these boilies is hopefully going to be enough to attract them down. Now all I've got to do, clamber back up the bank, set the rod on the rest. So I'm going to get the reel handle in the right place. Fishing mega slack. Clipping a bobbin on just in case I get a line or something like that. But really, probably don't even need a bobbin on. So make sure that's there. And what I'm doing is just pulling it away at a slight angle, getting tight to the lead, obviously not moving it. Putting the tip on the just above the bottom of the canal bed, not lake bed. So I know then that my line's just coming up the slope. There we go. Then just keeping it mega slack. And that's ready to go on. Right. Oh. Look at that. Honestly, I don't even really know what to say about it. To come out, you know, to come out and fish a canal and even have a chance of getting a bite, amazing. But to actually get a bite, and to me what makes this even more special is that yesterday Chris was saying that the mirrors were stocked fish, so knowing that this fish here is completely wild, potentially never even been caught, and just look at it, a proper angry Belgium canal warrior. I don't even know what to say. Unreal. Got cyclists going past now, rowers in the background, a world away from the places where I'm used to fishing, but a world of fishing that I'll definitely be coming back out to do. Lost for words, look at that. Don't come much better than that. And to think we've still got a couple of nights to go. I know everyone says it, if I don't catch any more it don't really matter, but honestly, unreal. Absolutely unreal. Look at that. Get a few pictures, get packed down, jump in the van, and we'll have a little look around for some more fish. Amazing. Beauty. Mwah. Right, here we go. What a mint fish that is. It's hard to get right down with him. Off you go.
All right, Tom. We both had a fish, so
Yes.
I think it's time to
We move.
discover a new stretch of canal. I know a nice little bridge. Maybe there are some carp under it, so let's see what happens there.
It's challenge complete here, so we'll move on. I
Yeah.
can't wait.
Oh, we
Don't know where you're going to turn up next, do you?
need to bait up.
Yes.
I get the call.
Yes. Right. So I'll catch another one, hopefully. It's unreal. There's no rules, you just do what you want. I love it. Right, well that's the last of the gear in. We're going to follow Chris now to our next little spot. Let's go.
With the first spot baited again, it was time to move on to another stretch. Chris had been kindly tipped off on this area the night before, with information that it had good late winter form. With spirits high from the early success, I was buzzing to get the rods out on the new spots.
All right, Tom, yeah. Little bridge spot. I mean, all the canals are connected, so the fish can be anywhere, and
A bridge would make perfect sense for some shelter, I
yeah,
suppose.
especially in winter. Let's hope they're still on the bridge. So
Looks good. The wind's obviously coming from the other side of the road, so this is a sheltered area.
let's get in some rods and give it
Let's have a go.
2
Give it a couple
hours.
of hours.
2
We'll see what
hours.
happens, yeah.
If they're here, we need to get a quick bite.
I will get a quick bite, all right. I have faith in you, Chris. So just before we left the last place, I whipped the old pop-ups off, tied some new ones on because I know what Chris can be like. It's a case of getting the rods out very, very quickly. As you can see behind, he's already on the case and dropping one in. And basically the bridge has got like a divider down the middle of it. Chris is gonna have the left-hand side, I'll have the right-hand side. 2 rods apiece on the entrance. There's a few fish underneath there, I'm sure we can coax them out of a bit of bait. So yeah, a couple of rods, ready to rock and roll.
With the bridge and banks being exposed, it was a simple case of walking the rods onto the bridge and lowering them down, checking the drop with the lead to ensure the spots were clear of debris. The bridge was an obvious feature, and with the tip-off we had had, I was brimming with confidence. A few handfuls of bait were dropped over the top, and before long, both myself and Chris had 2 rods out. Myself opting for the right-hand side of the bridge and Chris fishing the left. If there were any carp present, surely it would only be a matter of time.
So me and Tom both have 2 rods out towards the bridge. Never fished here myself, but a friend of mine just tipped us and said maybe it's worth to just try this spot and see if the carp are still around. Apparently it's a good winter holding area, but with the sun the last couple of weeks, I'm a bit in doubt whether they're here or not. We're gonna fish it for like 2 hours and see what happens. But that's the nice thing. I mean, all those canals are really low stocked. We stocked the mirrors like about 10 years ago, but even then, it's just, they're hard to find, especially with the water that colored. So the fish could be anywhere. All the canals are connected and people just help each other out, saying maybe this is a good spot or that is a good spot. So basically, we're just even living here, exploring the canals and learning about them, because like 20 years ago there was no fish, all was polluted, so it's a new fishing grounds for us. as well, and now with the fish growing bigger, it's getting really interesting. So being on the move is, I think, is the most important than being successful in canal fishing. Yeah.
The change of spot, dropped him literally under here, and I'm not going to even deny it, the bite was like a bream bite and I was a little bit hesitant. Got another carp on. This is like unreal. Chris is there on the net and it doesn't look too bad a fish. It's
Brilliant, mate.
yeah, unreal, absolutely unreal. Like busy road right next to a bridge right next to the road. Crazy. Got a fish on and it doesn't look too bad a fish. It's kicking right off. I suppose a lot of these fish here have probably never seen a hook.
No. Wild fish.
Look at this. What a backdrop for playing a carp in. Cyclists going past. This was the one that was sort of in the middle of my channel, if you like. There's a concrete stanchion that goes right between the bridge, obviously for support. And I sort of had a little lead around like Chris explained, and there was quite a few rocks close to where the stanchion is. So I'm assuming over the years where the fish have like been around the concrete. This is a good fish, a nice fish to be fair. Look at that.
I think it's ready.
This could be the session maker. The first one already wasn't. Come on. Look at that.
Oh, just a proper old one. Just look at it. Oh, nice one.
Oh, wow.
Tommy boy. Boom!
Wow. Just pulled up, come off the side of the road.
Oh, just look at this.
I don't know what to say. But, oh. I don't know.
Man, speechless.
I don't know what to say. The fact that I just let it go because I thought it was a bream. So the one this morning I didn't actually weigh, probably about 21 to 23 pound, but this one is bigger. Unreal fish. I can't even explain. Let's weigh it up, see what it goes. Chris is going to do the honours of the scales.
Right.
Make sure it's pecs all
Zero to scales. All right, just have a lift. What do you reckon?
about 24 to 26.
23, a couple of ounces. Yeah.
23 and a couple of ounces. That will do for me. Well, if there was ever a time to use the phrase "as old as the eels," I'm pretty sure this carp would fall into that category pretty well. Unreal. We moved over to here only a couple of hours ago on a tip-off that Chris had from one of his friends, and again fishing so close in, just dropping them in off the side of a bridge. The bite very, very twitchy, nothing like the one this morning. In fairness, I didn't exactly rush to it because Chris had a bream not long before, and I also thought that this was a bream. Picked it up and it went like an absolute train. Amazing, as old as the hills, and I've never in my life seen a carp with lips like this. Absolute built for the canal system, eating all sorts of things from mussels, crabs to crayfish, you name it, these fish have to eat it. Unreal. Right next to a busy road, dogs are barking, they're farming in the background. Does it get any better than this? In my eyes, mission accomplished. Well, here he goes. What an absolutely remarkable carp, with miles and miles and miles of canal to explore. Who knows where it'll end up next or be caught next. What an incredible old carp. Off you go, mate. Thank you for making my trip worthwhile. Speechless. Absolutely speechless. So I've just put back that absolutely incredible comment, and I haven't actually shown you guys the rig that I'm using yet. Now, the rig itself is very, very simple, but it lends itself perfectly to fishing here on the canal. The rig that I'm using is a hinged stiff rig. The reason that I'm using it is because I can't see necessarily what's on the bottom in front of me, but looking down the edge of the canal, there's lots of broken rocks, there's stones, there's tree stumps, there's bits of wood. So this is a rig that I know wherever I drop it, it's going to be presented as best as possible. I'm fishing that with a real bright pop-up, and this is anchored to the bottom. Now again, this is something a little different to what I would normally do in the UK. Back home, there'll be a little bit more finesse involved, it'll be critically balanced and it'll be slow sinking. But there is a bit of a flow on the canal, there's lots of smaller fish in here as well. So when this pop-up goes in, I want it to be anchored to the bottom, sitting firm so nothing can disturb it, in hope that when a carp swims on by, it picks it up. So like I say, the rig is very, very simple, and I'm just going to run you through now exactly how I tie it. First, take your pre-tied chod section. I'm using these with a size 4 hook because the fish in here are very, very strong and very powerful. Take your spool, a Camatech semi-stiff. I'm using a 35-pound version because I don't know what I'm laying my rig over, and it's nice and strong. Then attach a chod section to the material via a small figure of 8 loop. Then I'm going to thread on a small piece of anti-tangle sleeve. This is just to cover the quick change swivel, and then to finish the rig off, I'm simply going to tie a figure of 8 loop in the top of the material. I then take a generous pinch of putty and mould it around the swivel to ensure that the pop-up is anchored to the bottom. I also add a tiny blob halfway up the boom just to make sure that this is all pinned down to the bottom. Then it's just a simple case of attaching your pop-up, whatever pop-up you decide to use, and tie this off with a boilie stop and then blob down on top of the boilie stop. Now the reason why I'm doing that is because there is a lot of small fish, bream and eyed, and I don't want them to be taking the pop-up off only to be waking up in the morning with no hook bait left. So there you go, very, very easy to tie. I haven't come out here to try and invent the wheel, but so far 2 fish hooked and 2 fish landed, so it's certainly working well for me.
We gave it another hour on the spots, but with nothing else happening, we reeled in and put some more bait in, with the potential to return later on in the week. Again, baiting up with boilies and maids, but this time adding a few tigers in due to the bream being present in the area.
After catching an absolutely stunning common from the bridge peg, we have spent most of the afternoon driving around, just searching out different stretches really, and it's also nice to see the different stretches and what they have to offer. But tonight we're going to settle on another stretch. We're just going to nip to the shop now. We're going to settle on another stretch and basically go at the very end of it where it's been dammed off. There's a lot of sort of floating scum that's gone down, that's blown down on the wind, and it probably gives us about a 40-50 yard area of cover where fish could potentially be sitting underneath. So carp like hiding places, we can't see them anywhere else visually. I think it's going to be a good shout for the night. If nothing comes of it, it'll be a good night's sleep anyway. But yes, we're just heading down to the shop now. Going to get a few bits and pieces, head over there, get the rods out, and enjoy another lovely evening in Belgium. This is a botanically brewed cola drink with a bold burst of cherry.
It's forbidden
in
Belgium, but
he's found the proper stuff.
It's a Dutch shop.
That's him.
Apparently we have who drinks cherry coke? Except for this man.
That's tonight sorted. Put that in my machine gun. It's like a capsule.
So another stretch though. I think it's the 4th one we've seen today.
4th one today, yeah.
This will be a bit of a challenge. It's a very popular stretch of canal. Has some lovely fish in it, some proper old dark ones. If you're into this, I know you're more of a simul guy, but
well, you know, I'm partial to a simmer every now and again.
It will be a bit of a challenge, so I would say we have a feel around.
It's all a challenge.
I think it's a bit silty, but it should be a good spot in spring, so you can't...
There's a lot of cover down that end as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of cover, so that's definitely where to go, and because of the cloudiness of the water again, we can't really find them, so it's a bit of a gamble this, but...
Fishing blind, but...
I think after all the success,
we've had a good
it's
start.
time to...
I'm confident now, like,
yeah.
I've actually seen, even when I fish in the UK, if I can see the rod going, wherever I go, I can always envisage in my head, we're going to get a bite, so I'm thinking,
Alright,
yeah,
so
we'll get a bite.
I'm just putting Joker in for tonight. Or Joker.
We're not in England. Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, well, let's get the lights fading. We've got about, what, an hour before dark?
It's not a shame if we blank here. I mean,
No.
it's kind of normal.
No,
It's kind of normal for this stretch.
to be expected. You don't know what can happen. But then in the morning we can just get up and drive around again.
yeah,
and
we'll
go
have
somewhere else.
yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah, let's do it.
Quick overnighter, have some food. But first the rods. Let's go.
Let's do it. Well, I've got a leading rod in my hand. I'm actually going to fish up to the scum that's blown to the end of the canal. Now, to me, it screams an area that would hold fish. It's quite cold now, and I suppose underneath that it's going to be quite warm. So, going to have a little lead around. If it's nice and clear, go back up there, get a rig, bit of bait, come down, drop it in, and yeah, we're good to go. Got one rod fishing, and I've got a nice reed bed on the far side. And carp love reeds; they love patrolling along reeds. So I'm going to put one on the scum, one on the reeds. Job's a good one. So I think to effectively get a rod down to the edge of this scum line, I'm actually going to use a bait boat now. I've just gone right down on the edge of it, flicked around the lead. It's quite silty to be expected, but I'm not bringing anything back on the lead. So to me, it's clear enough to put a bait on. So what I've done is I've dropped a heavy lead where I found the clearest area, and I'm going to walk it back to where my swim is, which is probably 60, 70 yards up the bank. And I'm going to clip it up, find the direction of where I've got to go, and then basically just drive a boat to the clip, drop it down, and job's a good one. But we've got the Tour de Belgium coming down at the minute. Have a look behind. That's nice. Gravel. That's what we want. The man from Belgium has spoken. That is what we want, gravel.
With the first rod out, the second rod was again deployed by the boat. It was only a short cast, but with no previous knowledge of the area, I wanted to ensure I was presented perfectly. After a long day of constant moves, it was time to relax with some food and see the evening out. It seemed like perfect spring conditions to be fishing in, and although Chris had said this stretch was difficult, the rods were out, so there was always a chance.
Well, Chris said coming onto this stretch was always going to be a lot more of a challenge than the other stretches that we fished. And to be honest, I got the rods out about an hour and a half ago, just before it got dark. Again, not knowing what to expect. We sat back just chilling out, having some food and putting the worlds to rights. And I could just hear this slight whirring in the background, and the GoPro makes a similar noise when it's running flat. Wasn't really alarmed by it. And next thing I just thought, I wonder if that is my alarm. Went down to the rods, and the one that I put on the scum line, I'm actually into a carp. Honestly, I just don't know what to say. Like, this is, for me, is a major, major buzz, is this type of fishing. And going into the second night, we've got another fish on. My leg is out. I'm literally actually got a bit of a shake on. Come on, please.
Let's hope it's one of the old ones and not a stocky.
I don't care what it is. Doesn't look too bad.
No. Oh yeah.
Oh wow! Get in! Wow. Get in!
Yeah!
Yes! Go on, then.
Well done, mate.
I'm shaking. My heart is pounding.
It's an old one. It's definitely an old one. Just look at it.
Wow.
Big head.
Wow.
Oddly shaped.
Oh, my leg is going.
Nice
I've not
one.
felt like that
Nice
landing
one.
a fish for years. Wow. What a different buzz.
That's it. That's the trip
Wow.
done. You achieved everything you came for, I think. Just look at it. It's proper white on the back.
Wow. I don't know what to say.
You're right, mate.
Wow. I don't know what to say though. What can you say? I'm literally shaking.
Just look at it, Tom. Just look at it. Oh.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
35?
£35, 9 ounces. I don't know what to say and how to start. Check this out. A late decision to come onto yet another new stretch of Canal. The rod had only been out a couple of hours on a stretch where Chris said if we get a bite, we have done very, very well. This isn't the easiest stretch by any stretch of the imagination. Just sitting there, and the rod that I'd boated down to where a big line of scum had formed, where I suppose there's a bit of protection for the fish, and this, well, old, Chris informed me this fish is probably older than me. It feels a lot older than what I do. Its skin is proper weathered. An incredible old carp. 35 pounds and 9 ounces. If what I'd caught wasn't enough, this fish, let me tell you, is a dream come true. Could not have asked for a better trip. And to think that we've still got all of tonight, all day tomorrow, and another night. Who knows what else could happen, but you know what? Just look at that. I don't need to say no more. Look at that.
The morning was damp and dreary, with the signs that while spring was imminent, winter certainly hadn't let its grasp go. Whilst the rain clouds battled the sun, the kettle was on, and after a night of success, the move to this stretch was certainly worth it.
I was just prepping a rig, getting ready to put a rod out, because just before first light this morning, in the absolute pouring down rain, I actually had another bite. Chris come along not long after to let me know that he's had a bite as well. So the gamble to come onto this stretch of Canal massively paid off. Having caught that 35 pounder last night, that was a fish I think beyond any of our wildest imaginations. There is a lot of bigger fish. Well, there is a lot of big fish in this stretch. How many? Who knows? But we are going to sit out here for a few more hours, just because.
Yeah, especially because one of the local anglers came and he just talked to me and said most of his bites come around noon, so I think it's worth just stay till then, see what happens.
It's worth.
Then we can still decide whether we have a drive around, or just stay put. Who knows? Because the weather will be getting really
colder.
bad. Yeah.
But there must be a fair number of fish passing because we fished 2 rods each, and we've had 3 fish last night. So there's only 1 rod that didn't go. So to me, that says like there's a lot of fish in this area, and re-dropping them, bit of fresh bait, just to catch one as they come past. We might get another chance before we've got to move on. So we're going to redo them now. A few more hours, job's a good one.
And just see what happens.
Yeah, have a coffee and roll.
So here we have both of them. It's like the typical build for a wild canal common, like you find them here in the area. They don't grow much bigger than this. I think 20 pounds will be a big fish for...
If we hadn't caught them, if we hadn't got them both out at the same time, you'd have thought it was the same fish.
They look identical.
Unreal. Yeah, 2 more fish to add to the tally. Sun's just come out, so hopefully, let that cyclist go by. Hopefully now the sun's out, it's going to warm up that far margin, and before me and Chris venture off to have a look at another stretch, there's a chance of another bite. But look at them two, like peas in a pod, built for the canal.
Oh, you one's gone already? Come on, matey. Up. Yep. So Tom already talked about the hinge stiff rig he's using, and because it's suiting conditions best, I'm using the same rig. It's just perfect for the job. But I would like to talk to you a bit more about the lead system I'm using and the mainline and leaders. This is what I like to use. First of all, I like to use flat pair lead, like a 5-ounce one. And that's just because of the slopes on the canals. These are the best spots to fish. They are the natural feeding spots. The fish patrol up and down the slopes. So it's important when you fish the opposite bank, when you have a good drop, that the lead stays put. So this shape is ideal for this type of fishing, really. I'm using lead clips for like 95% of my fishing, and here again, for canal fishing, it just works perfectly because you have all kind of rocky bottom or cracks in the concrete, and when the lead could get snagged, and so just for fish safety, it's important that the lead can come off. So never use an inline lead on this type of canals. It's just dangerous and it might lead to a crack off. And with all the stones covered with mussels, I just like to beef up the end bit a bit. So I'm really a big fan of the ready tied Camo submerged leaders. They're lovely, they're soft. I'm always using or fishing a slack line, and they're just so soft. They'll go over any rock or boulder that's in the way, and just can't spook the fish that way. So it's very strong. Then I just tie that to the leader, the fluorocarbon leader. I just use the Illusion mainline in a 19 pound. It's really hard wearing, abrasion resistant, and I just love it for the stuff. The good thing about it is because it's so heavy, fishing the slack line, I mean, so you found your spot on a slope and you just slack the line off, and the fluorocarbon will actually help to pull the leader down, so it's just out of the way of the patrolling fish. They can't be alarmed by anything. So never fish a tight line when you're fishing up a slope. That's how I like to do it.
After last night's success, we decided to stay put for the day. I refreshed the rods early with the boat, planning to leave them out without touching them again, keeping disturbance to a minimum. Chris reeled in and decided to go stalking on the stretch he'd previously caught the 40-pounder from. He tried for around an hour or so on the spots that we'd baited a few days before, but with the change in weather, the carp just clearly weren't present.
So we had a great couple of days, and to finish it in style, I think it's ideal. We just have some of the local specialties. National pride is frietjes, the Belgian chips, I think world famous, with some frikandel. So I'm really curious about how Brad and Tom will, what they will think of the local cuisine. So let's have a visit to the chip shop.
The final morning brought with it sleet and snow, and we awoke to find the bivvies iced up. It was no surprise the final night hadn't produced any fish, and it was clear that any fish that were present had now moved. Chris took the water temperature and informed me that overnight the water had dropped by 4 degrees, although during the night he had managed a bream. We quickly packed up the gear before heading off once again, this time to Chris's house for a traditional Belgian breakfast of pastries and coffee, also thawing out in the process.
Just check the mailbox. So Tom,
Chris,
Bradley,
been
Thanks
amazing.
so much, mate.
yeah,
Mate, it's been unreal. Like,
had a
unreal.
lovely time.
Yeah, way better than we expected it to have gone. To have caught, and then now we're leaving and it's snowing. I think everything's
It's
gone
crazy.
right.
I mean, beginning of April and
Got a fishing mag?
yeah, that's just that comes with the license. I
Ah.
think you'll get one too. As
Ah.
you have a license, I don't know if you'll send it.
Oh,
to
so
me,
now I've
okay,
got a
but-
license, I can
yeah.
come back. Right,
But I would say have a safe trip
yeah,
and
Thank you very
hope
much.
to see you guys soon. I mean,
been amazing.
cheers,
Great.
mate.
Thanks a lot,
Thank
mate.
you very much.
Right.
Top man.
Right,
See you
Catch you
soon.
on the way back.
Cheers,
we'll
mate.
try. See you in a bit.
See ya.
Careful.
Bye bye. Right, so we've just left Chris at his beautiful house. Now, before we go back, drive back to Calais, I mean, it would be rude not to have a little stop on the bridge section where I caught that absolutely stunning common with the big lips. So we baited it up before we left it a couple of days ago. It is actually on our way back to Calais, and with this type of fishing, it only takes an hour to get a bite, so we've got plenty of time to sort of wait, so to speak. So we're going to go there, even though the weather's changed dramatically, and Chris said the water temperature has dropped sort of 3 or 4 degrees overnight. One last roll of the dice. Let's see what happens. 20-minute drive. Go over there, put a rod out. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it's been an amazing trip.
Upon arriving at the bridge spot, the wind had picked up considerably and it was bitterly cold. Although Chris had been informed this was a good winter spot, with a sudden change in weather, it was no surprise that for the hour that we stopped off, the bobbins remained motionless. It was worth one last throw of the dice before heading back to Calais, and we were driving back with a huge smile on our face. To come out to Belgium late winter with no previous experience of fishing canals and catch 4 fish, with one of them being a 35-pounder, exceeded all of my expectations, and is proof that getting out of your comfort zone can have some huge rewards. I do of course have to say a massive thanks to Chris, as without his knowledge and guidance it would have been very, very difficult, but I think with this trip it's fair to say we made it happen.